Welcome, everyone, to another growth story of a promising Swiss startup. My name is Joel Kaplan, and today with us is Aurelio Perrucca, CEO and co-founder of SplintInvest, a mobile-first solution for private clients to invest in alternative investments. Aurelio, are you ready to share your story with us?
Hey, sure. Yes, for sure.
What is SplintInvest about? Can you share with us, the audience, all the secrets we should know?
Yes, sure. So as you've already mentioned, it's a mobile first investment platform. Actually, it's a B2B2C marketplace for alternative investments where we offer private clients the possibility to start investing with only 50 euro. So today, what we offer is investment opportunities within the segment of luxury items. But in 2023, we will add additional categories like private equity, but also like venture capital and infrastructure projects later on in 2024.
Okay, so in simple words said, it's a mobile app. I can go there, I create an account, and then what kind of assets can I buy?
Yeah, exactly. You download the app, you create an account, and you start investing. Today, if you download the app, you can invest in wine, whiskey, watches, cars, art, handbags, everything which is coming out of the segment luxury items, and of course has an potential in value increase.
Got it. Okay, and why should I invest into alternative investments?
The nice thing is it adds diversification to your investment portfolio, which reduces the default risk.
What other information can you share with us about your company? Like how many employees are you? What kind of like stage are you? So the audience really can like resonate to you and the growth stage you're in right now.
Sure. So I would say we are a typical seed stage Swiss startup. And today we have 8 employees in Switzerland and 4 developers sitting in Lithuania.
Great. So Aurelio, to dive into, we got to know each other around 3 to 4 months ago, right? Back then you had a set of different challenges which you wanted to solve. Can you share with the audience what the situation was back then?
Yeah, sure. So 3-4 months ago, we already had some traction, some paying users. However, we also realized that it's very, very difficult for us to grow non-organically, and we were not fully sure why. And now, looking back, I understand that one of the major issues was that we didn't have a clear value proposition, and also like the messaging in the ads and in everything we were doing was fuzzy. So it was very difficult to bring the value for the user to a very concrete point. And of course, we we knew somehow that there is a product market fit because we saw users downloading the app, starting to invest and continuing to invest. So there was sort of a retention, but we were lacking on methods to quantitatively measure product market fit and also measure how it develops over time. So this was as well like very difficult for us also when it comes to then taking a decision on and where do I invest money, on which growth channel do I invest, and what's the expected outcome. And like having that possibility to measure product market fit quantitatively now is extremely helpful. And then of course, like back in time, I was not fully aware of that problem, like because you can't know what you don't know. But now I realize that we did never define properly the customer life cycle stages, um, like the user journey from seeing us, signing up, creating an account, doing your first investment, doing your second investment. So we had that in mind, of course, but it was never written down in a proper way and shared across the whole company in order to make sure that everything we do, being in the product development, to improve the onboarding on the marketing activities or the paid activities, um, it was missing. It was not aligned, and we realized that once we started to collaborate with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if I summed it up, that means I mean, you had a certain degree of product market fit, otherwise you wouldn't have any paying customers, right? You have like built up the first couple channels that create traction for you, but you were missing the structure to really also like continue that and improve it in a systematic way, from what I understand. What were some of the best performing channels you were using back then?
I would say that one of the best performing non-organic channels was definitely the collaboration with bloggers. It's still a very performing one, but back then in time, it was the best performing, and the least performing was Meta, so Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So you were in this situation, you were having all those challenges. We got introduced and started conversation. Why in the first place did you decide to get any external help at all? And why was it us?
Well, I think that the decision to get external help, we took that way before we met you. When we started the project in 2021, one of the first things we realized was, okay, no one really understands marketing. So we have a lot of experience and knowledge within the team when it comes to the product development, to legal and compliance requirement, to business requirements, to like everything you need to run that business except marketing. And like when I'm saying I had no experience in marketing, my idea of marketing was okay, I set up a Facebook account, an Instagram account, and 2 months later I have thousands of users. So that was the level of experience. And so it was clear for us that we need external help. And the problem was like if you understand nothing of marketing, it's very, very difficult, first of all, to select the right partner. So what we did in the beginning was, yes, getting external help, but from agencies. And there, like, even if it's the best agency on earth, they sell their services. And I wasn't even in the position to understand if this is the right service for the stage of my startup. So we paid a lot of, let's say, we had a lot of learnings in the beginning. And at some point, I realized, okay, I don't need a service provider doing the job for me. I need first to catch up and learn on my own. And this is where we encountered your enablement program. And it was just, yeah, exactly what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Now I remember back, like as we started working together, right? I mean, as we do with all of our clients in your stage, we started to like putting the right systems into place that enable you to actually scale successfully. As you mentioned, starting with like the product market fit measuring frameworks, right? Making sure your messaging and USPs are clear so your channels convert, building the data foundation, and out of that actually deriving the strategy and then diving into the testing experimentation of new channels and improving your flow. Now, throughout this process, what were some of the biggest aha moments and learnings you had, which you like to share with someone that is in a similar situation like you are?
I think that, yeah, that's a good one. So one of the most like biggest aha moments for me was when we came up with the messaging. So for me, like defining the messaging, the claim, or however we are going to call it, was something only creative people can do. In my mind, I was like, okay, you need to have like that special something in order to come up with a nice messaging. And then we went through the process with you guys, and at the end, we had a very nice, crisp messaging. And I realized that no one else did that. That was me and the team, like the nerds, so the quants. We did that, and it was great. And for me, that was a really very nice moment. Like trust, like the learning was trust the process, trust the methodology, follow the rules, and you come up with a nice result. That was very, very cool. And of course, like um, the mastering paid social was very, very cool as well to see that it's not rocket science. Rocket science. It's just like doing, testing, analyzing, optimizing. So that was very interesting as well to learn.
A one-on-one scaling process. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's like I remember in our collaboration there was this like this particular moment where we're taking a look at the messaging, right? And very often, people think like, yeah, messaging it's a little bit fuzzy, it's not very important, or it does not have like a direct impact, but it actually does, right? The better messaging is, the better your channels convert. And in our case, we had the situation where you had one of those competitors which was actually putting focus with their messaging on really the speciality of certain items, right? Like buy, I don't know, the Nike shoe or something, which we learn actually gives them immense top of funnel traction. But when you dive deeper into that, you had a very important lesson. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, fully I remember that. So and just to your first part of the question is, yes, in the beginning I wasn't as well 100% sure how big the impact of an improved messaging is. But now, 4 months later, having a good and crisp messaging which summarizes the value proposition is from my perspective the most important thing, because it makes everything much easier, and the performance of all the activities improves. So for me, this is now one of the first things I would do again when starting a new project. And yes, the learning we had there was actually that by depending on the value proposition, it's easier to get attraction, to get traffic, to be like visible, more search volume. But then yeah, you're maybe not attracting the most recurring users, the ones which are
Mm.
have a high retention. And in our example, we learned that by just putting diversification in on front in the spotlight, we attract a little bit less users, but the ones which stay and invest and are have a long lasting relationship with us. So the second part of the funnel, the retention part, was improved significantly, even if the top
Mm.
of funnel was generating a little bit less traction.
Yeah, love it. It's a beautiful example of like, even though we act and we work in a very data-driven way, at least is our mentality what it's all about, right? This creative piece of work in the beginning with the messaging, how that actually has a direct impact on retention rate and the other important data points to make a company successful. Okay, so now if you look back, like back into those 3 to 4 months, what were some of the greatest achievements you had with the company during that time period?
Well, beside the messaging and the value proposition, I would say that the user growth. So um, we have seen, like, we haven't talked about that yet, but one of the elements which was very important to for us as a company as well was the definition of our North Star metric. We had no North Star metric before. We introduced North Star metric monthly active users, and since then we see a very good growth on that metric, which has as well an impact on revenue. So I would say that's the biggest achievement, the definition of a North Star metric, which is now clearly defined and shared across the whole company. Everything we do is aligned to make sure that it has a positive impact on that metric, and it's working. So the number is growing. So right now we are at, like, in January we had 1,300 monthly active users. The month before 1,100. The month before 800. So it's growing constantly in a very nice way. I think one of the major reasons for that is, like, we focus on that metric. So that was, I
Hmm.
would say, the biggest achievement.
So that's like a 160% increase in the past 4 months. So quite substantial.
Yeah, yeah, approximately, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Any other key metrics which you like to share that like changed substantially?
Well, I cannot say it changed because we didn't measure it before, but like the user satisfaction, so the way how we measure product market fit is evolving as well. Um, so this is very positive for us as well, that it's growing the level of the number of users which say that our solution is a must have for them. So they would be very upset if we stop offering the services. That number is increasing as well.
Yeah.
And yes, as I already mentioned, like, the having more monthly active users has a direct impact on the invested amount, and this has an impact on our revenue. So
Hmm.
since a few months we have a revenue of like 25 to 30K, and 4 months ago it was at 10 to 15K. So
Hmm.
a very nice development
Almost
there as
doubling.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Beautiful. Okay. And now if we dive deeper, like how did you do that? Like what were some of the changes you did or you think at least that actually led to that user growth?
Well, one thing is um, like measuring the impact of an activity, like, based on one number. So because, like, we did some activities in the past where we were trying to impact a conversion rate, or downloads or whatever, but it was never set into comparison of a overall North Star metric. So and then you had different activities, but at some point as a startup, you have to take a decision: where do I invest my limited amount of money, and where do I get the most out of it? And and since we have the North Star metric, we are more structured in allocating budget to really get the most out of it. I think that's the important point. It's not what we do; it's the taking a founded decision on where to invest money.
Got it. Okay, okay. So I mean, that means already before you were like testing and experimenting, right? I remember even in our like initial conversations, this growth hacking element of our collaboration was very important, right? To professionalize this entire like
Mhm.
rapid experimentation process. But ultimately, you're saying this is definitely something that contributed to it. But even more important was actually to have this North Star metric to then derive clear objectives and key results of where should the energy be invested, and then use that as a decision guide for any kind of like resources that need to be invested to ensure it's going to invest it into the exact right point.
Yeah, exactly. So of
Yeah.
course, having that like growth hacking processes in place and having that experimental mindset implemented was very important as well. But I think we already had some sort of dynamics in that direction. It was not structured, it was not professionalized. So it has for sure impacted the growth as well. But the most important thing was, as you mentioned, like the alignment and the conscious decision about investing the money in growth
Mm.
activities.
How did like all those changes affect your organization, your team?
Well, I mean, not too much. It's still the same team, but everyone is more aligned um, from different perspectives. Like just implementing the key messaging and the value proposition was creating some sort of alignment, because like before it was always like, okay, I'm doing a, I don't know, a LinkedIn post, what should I write? I'm doing an ad on Facebook, okay, what is the call to action, what is like the USP? I'm preparing a pitch deck for investors, okay, what should I write on this slide when I summarize what SplintInvest is? And having that messaging was already like aligning us, so that changed. And and then of course, like since we have the bi-weekly growth sprints, and everyone of the team is involved in contributing to experiments, I think that it's on top of mind for everyone to work on or against North Star metric.
Mm. Like that is like very clear efficiency and focus is created, and ultimately everything is actually resulting out of that.
Definitely.
Yeah, cool, nice. Aurelio, last words. What would you share with someone that is in a similar situation like you were 4 months ago? What are the pieces of advice you can give?
Well, in if someone is in exact the same position, the advice I would give is like, do not delegate something because you do not fully understand it. So do not engage with third-party providers, service providers, if you are not on top of things, because they are not going to help you out and to solve the problem for you. So learn it, and once you feel comfortable and you still think you need to outsource something, then do it, but not the other way around. That would be
Mm.
the advice.
Like solve the problems in the core first, right? The alignment, and then once you actually know what you need, then like use other providers for additional support.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Nice. Well, Aurelio, thank you very much for your time. It was super interesting. If I'm interested in Splint Invest as a user or as an investor, I heard you also like fundraising again, or maybe as a talent working with you, how can I reach you?
Well, the easiest thing is to get in touch with us on LinkedIn. I mean, if you would like to test the app, you can just download it. It's available for free on all the app stores. If you are interested in like collaborating with us, if you're looking for a very nice opportunity to join a growing startup, then get in touch with me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way, or with anyone of the team. And yeah, of course, if there are any investors out there motivated to learn more, then as well, dropping me an email or LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way.
Great. Thank you very much, Aurelio, for your time and speak soon. Bye bye.
Thanks, Joel. Talk to you soon.